Have you ever noticed something strange about money conversations? Most people talk about discipline, about budgeting better, about being more responsible. But very few people ask a deeper question. Why do so many intelligent, hard-working people, people who earn decent money, still feel financially stuck? Not reckless. Not irresponsible. Just stuck. If that sounds familiar, this video isn't about fixing your behavior. It's about understanding the game you're playing, and why it quietly works against you. Let's start with a normal, realistic situation in the US or Europe. Nothing extreme.
No luxury lifestyle.
Just a regular working professional. You earn around $5,000 a month before tax. After taxes, healthcare, and mandatory deductions, maybe $3,400 actually reaches your bank account. On paper, that sounds fine. Above average in many places. But now real life begins. Rent or a mortgage takes $1,300. A car payment or lease takes $480. Insurance, fuel, maintenance add another $300. Student loans or credit cards quietly pull $350. Before groceries, before savings, before anything optional, you're already down to around $970. Groceries, phone, internet, subscriptions, basic social life, another $750. Now you're left with roughly $220. That's not failure. That's not laziness. That's the math of a normal life. And here's the uncomfortable part. Most people in this position think the solution is to try harder. They start tracking every coffee. They stress over small purchases. They feel guilty for wanting comfort. But the real issue isn't spending mistakes. It's that the game is structured around monthly affordability, not long-term progress. Modern financial life teaches you to ask one question. Can I afford the payment? Not. Is this making me more secure? Not. What does this cost me over 10 years? Just. Does this fit my month? That's the wrong scoreboard. Let's take the car, because it's one of the clearest examples. A $480 monthly car payment doesn't feel dangerous. It feels normal. Even responsible, especially if the car is reliable. But stretch that payment across 6 years. That's $34,500. Add insurance, interest, depreciation, and the real cost moves closer to $45,000. And what do you have at the end? A vehicle worth maybe $8,000, if you're lucky. No asset growth.
No flexibility gained.
Just years of obligation. But month to month, it never felt dramatic. That's how the system works. The same thing happens with housing. A slightly nicer apartment. A slightly better neighborhood. A few $100s more per month. It doesn't feel reckless. It feels like progress. But those extra few $100s don't just cost money. They cost options. They limit how long you can survive without income. They reduce your ability to change jobs. They increase stress even when everything is going well. So why do people keep making these choices? Not because they're bad with money. Because psychologically, humans are not wired to think in decades. Your brain prioritizes comfort, safety, and social belonging now. If a choice reduces friction today, it feels smart, even if it creates pressure later. And society reinforces this constantly. You're surrounded by people upgrading quietly. No one posts their savings rate. No one talks about flexibility. They show lifestyles, not balance sheets. So your reference point shifts. Normal becomes expensive. And expensive becomes invisible. This creates a subtle trap. As income increases, fixed costs rise with it. Not extravagantly, just enough to keep things tight. A better phone plan. A newer car. A slightly bigger place. A few more subscriptions. Each decision makes sense on its own. But together, they harden your financial life. And once costs are fixed, they don't care about burnout. They don't care about layoffs. They don't care about your mental health. They only care about being paid. That's why many people earning more than ever feel more anxious than before. Now let's look at the long-term impact, not emotionally, but mathematically. Imagine two people earning the same income. Person A organizes life around maximum comfort. Person B organizes life around flexibility.
No extreme sacrifices.
Just different priorities. Person A keeps fixed costs high but manageable. Person B keeps them slightly uncomfortable but controlled. That difference might only be $600 a month. Not dramatic. But over 10 years, invested modestly, that gap becomes 6 figures. More importantly, Person B gains time, options, and resilience. Person A gains nicer experiences, but remains fragile. This isn't about being right or wrong. It's about what the game rewards. Financial intelligence isn't about being strict. It's about understanding that fixed costs compound psychologically. The more fixed commitments you have, the less room you have to think clearly. When money feels tight, every decision feels emotional. When flexibility exists, decisions feel rational. That's the real divide. People who appear good with money aren't necessarily better earners. They just protect their future flexibility more aggressively than their present image. They delay upgrades. They question normal. They think in totals, not payments. Not because they're disciplined, but because they see the system clearly. Here's the quiet truth most people miss. You don't get rich by making more money. You get secure by needing less. And security, not income, is what reduces stress. This doesn't mean living small forever. It means choosing the timing of comfort deliberately. So if you feel stuck, overwhelmed, or confused about money, pause before blaming yourself. Look at the game you're playing. Look at what it rewards. Look at what it ignores. Once you understand that, your decisions naturally change, without guilt, without pressure, without motivation speeches. You're not bad with money. You were just taught to win the wrong way. If this way of thinking helped you see money more clearly, you might want to subscribe.